call the meeting to order. First up is to appoint a temporary secretary. Kyla, you volunteering?
I could do it,
Okay,
yeah.
Kayla will volunteer.
Thank you.
Thank you. Since Mike isn't here, we have no minutes to approve. At the request of the selectmen, review our staff of officers. I'm willing to continue as co-chair. You willing to continue as co-chair? The select board requested that we appoint somebody other than Mike Spankinable as our recording secretary because he's so busy with so many other things in the fire department. Especially when now there's a little bit less busy for him because we've got some rain, but when the drought was going on.
Oh no, all the inspections. It's inspection season.
Oh, inspection season, okay. But when the drought was going on, he was going nuts, trying to cover all the things that were going on because they were also covering surrounding communities with fires and on and on and on. So does anybody volunteer to be recording secretary?
I'll do it.
You'll volunteer?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll make sure Mike gives you the book
Okay.
of everything we discussed in this meeting one.
Well,
So,
make a
like,
motion, make it official.
Handwritten notes.
With everything. It's
Okay.
got a
Make
big binder.
Make a motion.
Second.
Perfect.
Okay. Tim's made a motion to reappoint Kayla as recording secretary, second by Paul. Anybody else want to volunteer?
Now.
Any other candidates?
All in favor? Aye.
We
Any
should make
opposed?
a mention that generally nobody volunteers.
No,
Yeah,
yes, I know,
asked if I could propose a
I'm
round
very
of
happy
applause.
that Kayla volunteered, that's very
Christmas
good,
is
thank you,
coming.
Kayla. Okay, Kayla is recording secretary, and you can let Mike know that he has been relieved of duties. I bet he'll be disappointed. Anyways, you review some of our priority bylaws, large venues. We've got some, Tom was working on that. So, I think it was Tom, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Farm animals. Oh, who was working on the farm animal thing? Did I keep notes? Well, Randy was working on farm animals. Well, he's not here, so we'll skip that one. Riverfront bylaw, Tom was with that, but that's also under that litigation, so until that's settled, we're kind of not going to touch that one. The town common, I sent around what I had originally prepared for town common bylaw, and then Jennifer sent me a bunch of information in that the selectmen have actually 4 pages of guidelines for the town common. I didn't send those around because I just got them at the last minute. But 1 page is the two pages. I did send the application, I think, the town stuff. But there's 2 pages of application and information, and 1 page of guidelines. And so I don't want to. I'd rather not incorporate their guidelines into the bylaw because they may want to change those at time to time. But I'm just wondering, how extensive should we make the bylaw for the town common? And that they have mentioned in there is about no permanent structures, landscaping, signage, cleanup, but there's very little, in fact virtually nothing, about police, fire, and DPW cleanup. So what I was thinking to do, and I just want to make sure before I rewrite the one that I prepared, that really incorporate what the police department concerns are and the fire department and board of health concerns, and clean up by the DPW if needed, and obviously leave their guidelines alone. So I'll reference the select board guidelines in the town common, but so that I can take out, because they already have a fee and everything else in there. So that's pretty well taken care of. But just to mention about the police department coverage, and primarily police and fire. And to some extent the Board of Health, but the Board of Health probably has guidelines, I would assume.
Excuse me, when you say fire, does that include our ambulance service at
Yes.
this point? So that'll
Yeah,
cover that?
yeah, that would
Public safety
include
or-
all of that.
Okay.
So that,
Sorry.
depending on the size, we want to put, for the police, do you know what the police department's concerns are on this one, Mitch, for the town common?
Parking is the is the one that we deal with.
Parking and traffic control?
Parking, mainly, yes. Parking and traffic control. I mean, the bylaw there's already a bylaw that talks about driving across the common.
Right.
Although I think that if it's in line with some of the other bylaws that we're looking at here, the fine for it is probably about $3. So we probably need to address the driving across the common, and we need something relative to parking.
Okay.
Do you need anything separate or special with regard to crossing Route 9?
No, I think that's going to be within the state highway layout. So
Yeah, all the only things I'm gonna mention about crossing Route 9 is if they're using one side, if they're gonna be using both sides of the common, then they're gonna have to have a police officer directing traffic on Route 9. Other than that, there's really nothing, there's not much else we can do about it, because like Mick said, it's a state highway, so except for pedestrian control and traffic going back and forth, that's about all we can address.
I mean, the only other thing, and which would be completely separate from what we're talking about here, is there are cities and towns that have ordinances or bylaws relative to, and I think it would probably fall in with the large venues, but there are bylaws out there that essentially mandate compliance with the police department relative to police details and traffic and pedestrian crossing and things like that. And I think that the best example that I can think of is for Gillette Stadium. The city there has an ordinance that talks about police details and number of police details and when police details are required. And
So the two events, I don't mean to put the cart before the horse, two events that pop into my mind are obviously the Asparagus Festival and the Memorial Day picnic on the common.
yep,
Okay, now I know the picnic is more of a community event.
correct.
Where the select will approve it, no charge or anything like that. So where does that fall as far as parking and cleanup? So I think we really need to detail what cleanup means. If you have a large venue there, cleanup might be, you take all the trash, you take all the porta potties, you do all of this, instead of just, maintaining the grounds.
Yeah, I mean, the Asparagus Festival, as it stands right now, as far as my understanding is not really a concern. It is put on by,
Public media.
thank you, New England Public Media. Everything is paid for by New England Public Media. The cleanup, they have porta potties, they have sanitation, trash cans, things like that. And so to the degree that it is left, I can't speak of, but I can say that they do those things in preparation and in order to get the select board's approval for the event.
But what about town events, like the Memorial Day?
Has there been any problems with that one?
Not that I-
No, but I'm just saying, if we do all these bylaws
Yeah, I
and
know.
everyone's parking on the common, things come in, and they're
I'm not
great
saying
about
that
it, they
there
do
was,
them.
but,
Porta
that's
potties
a
and all
good
that.
one to look at and see what could be added with regard to that, because, one person takes care of a lot of that at the end.
Mhm.
And most,
Oh, and they're great.
everybody's
They're
there.
great, yeah.
Yeah, and most everybody that does stay there, they all pick up.
Wasn't there
But
some-
that's because they're Hadley people.
Mhm.
Wasn't there like a beer and something, like on Friday nights or?
There
That was
was.
pre-COVID.
That was pre-COVID.
That was
okay.
amazing, I was just doing
Yeah,
that.
I mean, it was there,
That
it seemed like it
awesome.
was really popular.
And
Wish
we
that
never
would
got
come back.
I don't drink
overcrowded.
beer, so I didn't go to it, but, yeah,
Yeah.
but
Beer's not as popular as it was before COVID, unfortunately. But yeah, those were a lot of fun. I think that they were great for the town because it really started bringing a lot of people together. That's the unfortunate thing, that with Hadley, we don't have enough community activities like that. We've had some in the past that have been outstanding, but there's nothing happening like that.
I mean, I think that our bylaw, if we're looking for something, obviously we are, but I think we should be talking mainly about commercial use. I think we should be talking about about using the common as a parking lot, and obviously for events like the Asparagus Festival, like Memorial Day, the select board has approved for the common to be used for this particular purpose. But I know that there have been, without naming people or naming anything, we know that parking has been an issue. I think we've even talked about it here, where it was such an issue that the grass was completely worn away. Now people are parking on the opposite side of the common. So a bylaw that addresses the commercial use for, parking for commercial use, parking for regular residential use. I think that those are things that we should be addressing here for the town common.
Yeah, that's, I agree that one of the things that, the way I'm trying to word the bylaw is that call it the common, the proper town common, the distance between the two west streets will be handled kind of one way. Whereas the area between, because people that live on West Street have like 15 feet, if they're lucky, a front yard. The rest is the town common. So between the house and the street, they could pretty much treat that as their front yard.
The house and the sidewalk?
From where from the street to their front of the house. They could treat that as their front yard, with the exception of no signage, stuff like that. But if they want to put a farm stand up there, they could do that. If they want to essentially park their cars there, that's their front yard. Okay, try not to put cars in the same spot all the time so that you don't create bare spots, if you would. But if you got a party, okay, that's all fine and dandy. Park your cars there, mow the lawn, clear the driveways. I'm not proposing by any way that they need to plow the sidewalk, because that's a whole different issue in the whole town. If we're going to plow sidewalks there, why not the rest of the town? I think that would just be opening
Can of worms.
a nightmare. Leave that one alone. But basically, they could treat that as their front yard. But try not to park in any regular basis. No regular parking on the town common. You got a party, you want to park on it, you got to park on a town common, probably okay. But these people that use the town common as a routine parking lot because they don't want to park in their yard, there's a couple that I can think of, particularly on the
North side.
south side.
There's one on the north side.
North side too, okay. But, I know there's one on the south side, so there's more than one or two. That's not permitted. If you don't have your room in your yard, you better find room in
Why
your
you have a
yard.
driveway?
Yeah, so that's kind of what I'm looking to do, kind of like what you said about parking, stuff like that. I don't really see much trash on the town common. That's kept pretty clean from what I can tell. But as far as a venue goes, one of the biggest things is that, it hasn't happened recently, but if somebody has an event and it's a wetter season or the ground is wet, they leave ruts. They gotta fix the ruts. You gotta make it the way it was before you had the event. Return the town common to prior condition, if you would. Stuff like that.
It would be helpful if we had a statement that, prior to any event like that might have some question in regards to the soil conditions. It might be wise to ask DPW on evaluating
Prior
for
condition.
parking.
Yeah.
Prior-
Jim, do you have
Well,
those?
it's like when you rent a car. You rent a car and, you walk around it and they go, they're
The
gonna
select
charge you for
board's,
that scratch.
like,
And
rules?
then you come back and they go, oh, no,
They have
that's a
some
scratch.
guidelines, yeah. Yeah, the select board requires approval of the police department, the fire department, the building inspector, and the DPW director to sign off on any event. So,
And how do they define event? Is that commercial use? Does it say?
that this is, I'm just gonna read the way, application for use of the West Street Town Commons. Profit or non-profit, Hadley resident, is what then you gotta fill out, name of event, group, contact, type of event, date, purpose, location, estimated attendees, alcohol, admission charges, will there be tents, generator, transportation, parking,
It looked like there was, they do need to indicate if it's non-profit status, but not necessarily commercial.
right. Yeah, I mean, so
Well, it says for profit, so
Yeah.
that would be commercial.
or non-profit.
Oh, wait, where's that?
It's right there.
Right here, it says profit and
Oh,
non-profit.
I didn't see that,
They
yeah,
both gotta
okay,
fill out.
okay.
So just in practice, do they take a deposit, like a damage deposit against the
Yes,
common?
I think
Okay.
they take
There's a $500.
$500 deposit.
Well, that's not gonna cover, I mean, if somebody walks on it and says, well, we're not gonna fix the ruts, keep the $500, that might not fix
Well,
serious damage, so I think if I may, I would suggest that the select, I assume the select board sets that number?
yes.
Yeah, that they talk to the DPW to just get what's an estimate of, not the worst damage, but enough to make someone wanna clean it up and come back.
Yeah.
And also because you're talking about growing grass, you know, you can't just have them put seed down, somebody's gonna water it. If we're in a drought situation, this could drag on for months, I mean,
Yeah.
or over a winter.
That
you
makes
know.
sense. One thing I wonder is if we want to encourage more community events, if if it's too high, like that might be discouraging
Well,
for groups that don't have money.
The select board has the authority to waive that,
Oh, okay.
Right.
because this is written there.
Sure.
Please note that the failure to clean a town common will result in the forfeiture of a $500 deposit. Attached, you need an insurance liability coverage, workers' comp if that's the case. There's some place in here that says that the select board can waive
Oh, great.
the fees. I forget exactly, I haven't.
Yeah, because I just think they ought to set it based on, you know, if they're using the south common only, then it's $1,000. If you're using both commons, well, you know, like the asparagus festival, you could, all those cars parked up there in a wet condition could create damage on, you know,
Yeah.
and
So
some,
this should be incorporated in a large venue? Because of all the requests I've received from residents, they
They're all
always
little.
call my office, they always tell me, I tell them, just let the police know, let the fire
Right.
know,
Yeah, yeah,
and all
for-
of that, and they're very respectful of that.
yeah,
So I
for the
think we
little,
need to
just
focus
for
on
the large
bigger
venue
ones, yeah.
things, and then like it was said, that you can, the select board can waive it for local, you know, somebody's got a school event, they're gonna go out there and, you know, practice something, or, you know, dancing or whatever, you know. I thought this was, actually, your draft was pretty full in terms of, you know, covering things.
Okay, that's all good, basic information, that's good. Okay,
Is our goal May town meeting for this one?
that's our goal.
I had a note from our last meeting. I don't remember the context of this. That we wanted to add something about metal detection.
Oh,
as a
yeah.
Common.
Yeah, that was brought up, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, so this is a constant one for us. We get these calls maybe half a dozen times a year for people metal detecting on the common.
It's
I-
not allowed.
And I don't think, well, you're right, exactly. And so, but I think I don't think we can say, I don't think we can 100% say that metal detecting is not allowed, because that's what we tell people. We tell people, if you want to go out there with your device and you want to scan the ground, go ahead, all day long. Don't you dare put a shovel in the ground.
That's right.
that's right, so rather than say metal detecting, just say there should be no digging on town
The
common.
disruption of the town common.
Yeah,
Feels like
I-
that could even fit in with, I don't know, there's maybe a way to make that fit in with the, we're saying basically for large events, large venues, that you can't damage the common, and if you do, you have to, you know, pay to fix it. So it would be the same problem, right?
Well, you have other issues with metal detecting because the ownership of what they find. I mean, on our common, they will probably find potentially colonial coins and other things.
It's
of value,
historical
so-
sites, so they're not
They're-
legally
yeah.
allowed to even dig.
Right.
There's master law.
Right, so
Mhm.
that's the issue too, you know?
So we just lean on Mass General Law, or do we want to create something ourselves?
Why don't we just reference it?
Yeah, and should I tell you exactly which Mass General Law is, but it came to me several times when I was a building commissioner. And I just told the people, it's point blank. If you even dig there, you're arrested on site, because there's a historical site, you're not permitted to do it. And there is a Mass General Law. Now, could I tell you exactly which one it is? No, I can see if I can find something, but I think we're probably gonna find something in Mass Regs in regards to this, especially with the comment being as old as it is. We can look that up.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna do that kind of work, you're gonna wanna bring in just an archaeology team that's gonna do like a test pit or something, see what they find. And-
Exactly.
And it's gonna be,
Well, metal detecting's also been going on for years, and you know people have metal
Yeah.
detected on the common, you know people have dug stuff up on the common.
Yeah, unfortunately, yes, and they haven't, some people have given it to the Historical Society, others have taken it, and some of it happens at nighttime too.
Hmm.
But Mitch, of those 6 calls that you get a year regarding that, is there ever an issue when you say no? Is this-
No, not generally. Well, the only issue that we have is that, and I haven't been able to find. I'm not saying that there isn't a Mass General Law, but we've come across this, and what we are experiencing more and more is that if we show up to someone who's metal detecting and we say, sorry, it's not allowed, you're seeing less and less people going, oh, okay, yes sir, have a nice day, and they
Show
move
me.
along. They're saying, show me.
Mhm.
And so while I could say all day long, oh, we've got a bylaw or we've got an MGL, well, now I got to find it. And so we don't have anything, as we know, we're talking about it here for the purposes of a bylaw. We don't have a bylaw that restricts it.
we're on town property. We
so-
oughta just add that into our bylaws.
Or we can just do in accordance with
What did you-
MGL, blah, blah,
Town of
blah,
Falmouth has
first
a
offense,
very
second offense,
specific
third offense.
about
Yep.
Any town property is prohibited metal detecting,
But
period.
normally ours are 1, 2, and 300.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying,
I can forward it.
did I hear you say?
Yeah, that would be great, yeah.
Yeah, Falmouth, Mass. has a very specific policy adopted in 2020. Written permission by property owner on private property, town removal, archaeology is prohibited, digging is prohibited. It has everything on here, and we ought to bring it into either whatever attaches to this. They also reference, by the way, the laws and regulations governing cultural resources on state land, so all those numbers are here, so
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good.
Well, I was gonna say because
Perfect.
it's not just relevant to the common, right? It's,
Right.
That's correct.
So
Right.
it shouldn't we shouldn't just have
Yeah.
it in the
No,
common.
this would be a completely separate bylaw, just like they have.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we could
As far as
reference,
on town
we might
property.
wanna reference it in here just for anybody
Yes,
looking.
Yeah.
just
oh, yeah,
say-
no, I
Yeah.
agree to reference it, but we should
Separate.
reference it
Mhm.
here and have
Sep-
it as a
yeah.
separate standalone to,
Where am I going?
address it, because there, you've got, well, the town owns property all over the place. And in a couple of the areas, particularly one that's actually state property in North Hadley, is a known Indian burial site. And there's been lots of arrowheads dug up over there by people. In fact, there was this is still in the town hall, the big
Yes.
plaque that was I think it was done by Kenny Bereska.
Mhm.
That was, a lot of that was uncovered in the burial site in North Hadley.
Well, do you think an option is to maybe go to the CPA and ask, 'cause I know when I go to some parks and all that stuff, and there's a little list of like policies, you know, do's and don'ts. So the popular spots, we have something in there that says, okay, you know, respect
I
this.
think that's a great idea. We need signage
No
out there.
littering, no, and I mean, what I love most, because I walk the dog, my dog all the time. And when they put those
Page 17.
trash barrels in, made a huge difference. With all the
Mhm.
poop bags and the poop that was just left on the thing.
Right.
So little things like that, I know it's a pain in the butt toward DPW and all that, but that makes a huge difference.
Mm.
But a lot of times when I've gone to like pass and all that stuff, there's been little more keys that explain,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
don't litter, no digging, all that stuff. So maybe that might be more
put some fake cameras on them.
So,
Yeah.
Well,
I'll
because the
take
parking
that
on
on.
West Street,
Okay.
just those
And-
signs.
well,
would
I'll-
make a huge
something in
difference.
front of CPA.
Well, yeah, but they put so many up, you can barely park there
You
anyway.
could
Well, I know, there's no way they can miss it.
Okay,
Go to the select board,
Some
get
sort
it
of-
approved, and
okay.
I mean, I moved to Hadley like a year and a half ago, and I frequently wondered, like, walking around on the town common, I was like, I don't know what the rules of the common are. Like, I don't really know. And to your point, like having a sign that's like, these are the things that are permissible. These are.
Yeah, welcome
Thanks.
to our town common,
Yeah.
something that says very friendly.
Yeah.
These are the rules and regulations.
Or in the
You
hot
break
spots.
them, you
Yeah.
can have a picture of,
You break them, you get shot.
you get.
Does like, does Jerka Park have anything similar to that?
No, we don't shoot people.
what?
Does the Jerka Park, does that have
Yeah.
any similar? Because a lot of
No.
people are using that.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, I think that'd be a great use of CPA.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all of them, and also just about, interactions between people,
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
respectful of other people and so on.
And particularly clean up after your pet and whatever else. I mean, dogs
Yeah,
on a
right.
leash.
Children.
The leash law would be a good one to post because a lot of people run their dogs free.
Yeah, when they get there. Yeah. Let's,
I can bring that up at our next CPA meeting.
I was just looking to see, I know I already found that the Hadley Town Common is listed in the Mass Historical Commission. I was looking to see if it was listed in the National Park Registry.
Yeah.
So I think that those are, while not pertinent to enforceability, I think that by headlining a bylaw for the town common and talking about preserving what is listed in these places, we're not talking about just any strip of grass here.
Yeah. But the town common in Hadley is the longest town common in New England. Well, I know it's in Massachusetts. I don't know if it's in New England. I think it is.
I think it is.
I think it is, but it's
We
the
should put
longest.
that on the sign too.
Yeah.
You say it with enough authority, Jim, I believe it.
I'll start off, this is a historical site.
I'm just
Yeah.
trying to think. There's
Yeah.
other,
I
there
think
are,
so.
yeah,
I do, I think so.
so,
Like Mitch, have there been any other issues with up on Tremor Road? Parking issues we had there? Looking to all the trails?
So the problem, the problem that we have with Chamorro Road is that when you drive to the end of Chamorro Road, envision that circle at the end isn't there. Envision that the road just went to a dead end, okay? And now you've got all that piece that's to your right that's all paved. That's not Town of Hadley's. That is Amherst College's property.
yeah.
So the problem that we have is that you can go up there, we can post signs. Hopefully people will honor them or whatever, but the reality is it's not the town's property.
Yeah, it's also, it's the Amherst
all-
College
yeah.
property, they bought it, whatever,
As long as
and,
they're not parking
It-
on Hadley property, closer to the house.
Which is
that
a
was
very,
the issue.
very narrow strip.
yeah, it's the road. But as soon as you turn to the right there, all of that area to the, if you would,
Paint
north, is not Hadley property, but they keep coming after Hadley to stop from doing it. And Hadley has no authority. They tell them to go to Amherst College, and Amherst College, yeah, okay, we'll talk to them. Right.
The biggest mistake this the town ever made was not buying that property.
Yeah, well, obviously, water, whatever happened, it's done deal, and, unless you can talk to the Amherst College and have them donate it to Hadley or something, I don't know if there were, I don't know, I'd have no idea, I mean, how do I say this? I seldom go down to the end of that road, but the people that live near the end of that road, especially in the nice weather, see significant amount of traffic and people parking and so on and so forth.
There's a lot of mountain biking off of that road.
Yeah, because it's a direct access to the mountain up there. I don't know what kind of trails they have, but
There's
that's,
beautiful trails up through there.
okay, I've never gone up there.
I mean, I use the mountain bike all the time there. Never had a problem. I never knew about the difference.
But anyway,
His car.
yeah, that's what that is. So, we probably, let's put together what we have out of that and see if we can take it up, continue with the next meeting. Updates on the bylaws that we from our last assignments. I know we have different things. You were you were working on?
The only thing thought I was supposed to work on was what I finished was,
I think a lot of it's Tommy and Mike.
Yeah, a lot of it was Tommy, but they had quite a few of these, yeah. Randy, Tommy, Mike,
Kayla and I own recycling, which
Yeah.
I got the,
we don't have a lot of room to move on recycling because the
No.
regs are just so specific.
I'm still waiting for Ben, Board of Health Director, said that he was gonna do some research into what Board of Health wants to require in the bylaw.
Right.
okay.
And then I reached out to Kathy Nelson, the recycling coordinator. I heard back from her, but I haven't gotten a chance to look over. She sent some examples of other towns'
Yeah.
recycling bylaws
Yeah.
and what she thinks should be included.
But I just
So
have a question
maybe-
of clarity
Yeah.
on something. Does something have to be a bylaw to be able to enforce it? I'm using like the reservoir on Bay Road. We don't have a bylaw on it, but people have been really good about getting their permits. We have a tow truck company doing that, and that's not a bylaw. So do we have to actually create a bylaw, or can we just make a town policy?
If the select board has a regulation, like right now, the guidelines for the town common that are being used are select board guidelines, there is no bylaw on it. But it is, I have no idea if it would hold up in court. I'm not gonna go there. But as far as enforceable and making people abide by certain guidelines, the select board, you can make them do, that can be enforceable, that, this is our guideline, this is our regulation. But whatever I have no idea about going to court, that's a separate issue. But as far as like what you're getting done, with guidelines and regulations, that's probably fine.
Well, I'd rather pay $100 fee than have my car towed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you get that done, you're like, okay, no big deal. But you go there and the inconvenience of getting your car out of impound, paying for the tow, and all that, I think is much more effective. Personally.
Which is why we do it that way.
Yeah.
We have so many less problems.
And I know sometimes the overage of signs is annoying and it seems waste, but people will claim they didn't see the sign.
They still do.
When it's in your face like that, unless you're legally
no.
blind,
Well,
Trust me, I had a space at Fitzwilliams I rented and it said, "We will tow you, really, at your expense, really."
Yep.
And I still towed 200 cars out in a 5-year
Wow.
period.
Whoa.
It's like,
how many repeat offenders?
What's that?
Do you know how many repeat offenders there are?
Well, if they were there when I went to pull in, yeah. No, I got threatened. I had a guy threaten me in Fitzwilliams. I used to go into Fitzwilliams and just pull him out, just have him announce, get the car out of his face. And I had a guy threaten me. Called the cops. They came over. He threatened them, and he calmed down once they flipped him around and cuffed him in like a flash. It's the fastest movement I've ever seen. It was amazing. He's like, "Want to see that again?"
tends to happen that way, but not always.
Yeah, and he worked for a towing company in Greenfield.
That is
Really?
very
Isn't that funny?
That is funny.
Yeah.
Let me guess, he said something like, "I know the law."
No, he said something like, "I'm gonna effing kill you."
Oh, well.
Several
that's-
times in front of the hostess at the in front of Fitzwilliams. Like I said, call the police.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. And I know you had some stuff, Adam.
Yeah, I have handicap language for the sidewalk bylaw that I'm going to send you, Jen, actually. And then
Jess.
Jess, sorry. And then I need to send
No
Mike.
problem, Andrew.
I need to send Mike. I sent him an email actually. I need to schedule time with him to talk about abandoned vehicles. He wants to. I don't know if that would be a separate bylaw or if we can add that. I don't know if it would belong under an existing one, but
Abandoned vehicles is covered under Mass General Law, which is what we currently use. So, I'm not saying that it would be wasteful to have a bylaw.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure we already have a bylaw that covers unregistered vehicles.
Yes.
You would know that.
72 hours. Well, actually, yeah, there is a bylaw there. It talks about unregistered
Unregistered
vehicles
yep.
within 72 hours has to be covered
Mhm.
or not seen from the street. Okay,
On personal property, you're talking.
on personal.
Well, I guess we had talked about this at a couple of different meetings. I don't know if this is something that like Mike specifically had an issue with, but I don't know what he wanted to add to that bylaw or change about it. It's just no person shall abandon any vehicle on town property for such time to reasonably appear to have been abandoned. I'm not sure what he wants to add to that, but
that's all under Mass General Law.
It is.
You guys have very specific rules and regulations which you gotta follow when.
Yeah.
So I don't know why we discussed that as being an issue that we wanted to address, but I said I'd take it on, but it sounds like it's not.
Rather than beat it up right now, why don't you just wait until Mike is at the next meeting, you can ask him about it.
Sure.
Or give him a call or see whatever it may be if you have a chance. And instead of trying to repeat what is already existing, or duplicate it, whatever word you want to use, and
Excuse me.
just leave it like that.
Okay.
So what were we discussing about the sidewalks though?
Adding language, I think it's 218.1. I think it might be the very first part. We have some pretty outdated language about like handicapped people and access for the sidewalks. So basically, we're just going to add an exception. That's because basically it says like you can't have any vehicles, you can't obstruct the sidewalks, but we need to add an exception. Yeah, for like motorized scooters,
And did you
wheelchairs.
designate specific sidewalks you're talking about? Because I often walk the Common and Middle Street and the sidewalks.
Oh, it's terrible.
Oh yeah, they're all over
The
the
tree
place.
roots are
That's
going
gotta
up
be
on
addressed
it.
by the town.
Yeah.
Especially on Middle
Middle
Street.
Street is just awful.
It's really.
So
that's gotta be
I'm
a-
specifically talking about 218.1, which is basically just saying like you can't use any vehicles on the sidewalks. And actually we talked a lot about this because it says no bicycles, and I was like, I see bicycles all the time on the sidewalks. Like that's not, we're not really enforcing that one, but where we agreed we weren't going to change that aspect of it. But basically it says there's not really much language. We have some kind of outdated language about basically wheelchairs that we should replace, I think, and just update to be more, to include a wider range of people who are like handicap accessible devices.
Well, what's that word we used last time? Because you can't say handicap anymore.
Disabled.
I thought
I
it
think
was,
it's disabled.
it wasn't disabled, there was some other verbiage that you had to use now. So we just incorporate, the.
Yeah, and I
Except for,
I pulled some language from some other town bylaws and just tried to make sure it would reasonably cover like any accessible device, like assistive device. So we were just gonna add that. So yeah, I have that drafted.
And
actually, I can send that.
Tim, didn't you say something when we were talking about this about part of the sidewalk being added to the bike path potentially as a connector, and then how do we deal with that? I thought you brought that up. I could be wrong.
No, it wasn't here.
Okay.
No.
Well, also actually in this byline, I was wondering if maybe throughout, because I think it appears in a couple other places, we list livestock. I had brought this up before. We list livestock and we go sort of like horse, ox, mule, cow, goat, donkey, pig. And I was wondering if we could just like simplify that language to say like livestock animals and define what that means in maybe another section, but every time it comes up, we list every animal, and it's just like, can we just, say livestock animals? I feel like that. So I had drafted language for that as well, which is in the same section.
And that's why we had llamas going down one street.
Well, llamas are not specifically listed, so
They were allowed.
that's okay. Yeah. All right. Well, so I can send that to you, and then I can connect with Mike about. I honestly don't really know what he wanted to do with abandoned vehicles. I just volunteered to take it on. But if he doesn't have anything he wants to do with that, then I could take on a different assignment because I feel like I need something else. So.
Okay.
And don't forget, what do you call it, comfort animals? Not comfort animals.
Emotional support.
Yeah, support, yeah, because there are livestock animals that are in that class.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
The airlines are having issues with, people.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
people try to make some
Pigs.
pretty good signs.
There's a pig on one.
That's a good point. Okay.
Goats and everything else on. That's my support animal.
Yeah.
Jim, do you think it would be smart enough maybe at the first of the year? Because I know the first year that we were doing this, we had a lot of small little changes. And we were like, oh no, let's focus on the big ones. So what I can do is I can go through Mike's book of everything and kind of list all those smaller changes, just so those don't get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah,
I know there's just a few sections, and I think we could lump it all into one article, saying, you know,
Yes.
amend this, 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 and this.
That makes sense. Especially with updated language issues.
Yeah. Because we discussed it, and then we didn't do anything about it. And if we do pass the common bylaw, it's very easy to put a link on the webpage to get the application and all of that. We don't, I can put it as a appendix in the bylaws itself, but it's very easy to just create another link and application for town common.
And
Easy for you.
Speaking of the website, we
It's
need to
not my
update the
department,
members
it's select board.
for
Oh.
this committee too.
update the members on the website for the bylaw. Who does that?
That'd be me.
Can you update that?
Sorry.
Brought it up.
You reminded me, I had it
no,
on my list
I get
here.
those updates, but it's frustrating to me, I know the select board's obscenely busy, but the select board is technically the people that make the appointments. If they don't give me the updates and changes, I don't know they happen.
Okay.
Yeah,
So we've tried in the past to get every chair to every year say, okay, these people are still on this committee, this is still the term. I mean, we're obviously through completion, so the only change would be if somebody resigns. But, note to self.
Do we have a page on the website? In,
Yeah.
like the boards and committees section?
Yeah,
Oh.
we're on there, but Amy's still on there, and I think there was somebody else who's not on
So that must have
there.
been the select board site, because my site's not.
I'm not sure, my wife was looking at it the other night,
yeah.
and she said, oh,
they
look,
probably,
it's
I
not
bet
on
you
there.
Dan's
So,
probably still listed on it too.
Yeah.
my publicity director.
Website. Update. That's an easy fix.
Could I ask a general question, since I've been out of it for so long in the town? Does the town still require you guys on the boards to request to serve every year? Or
No, we're
whatever
through-
your term
We're
is,
through
to give a
completion.
letter?
This term is through completion.
Yeah,
So if somebody is interested in joining the committee, they'd send a letter and the select board might go, okay, sure, you'd be a great fit for this.
yeah, I'm talking about, I remember,
We
I used to have to fill something out and say, yes, I still want to be.
The way they work it right
And they
now
gave me
is
something back.
like, I'm elected. So if I get put on this committee, well, I'm on this committee as a planning board member. So I would be on this committee until my election is up.
Yeah.
Re-election is up. And not necessarily for the duration. And different elected officials are typically put on certain committees for whatever reason,
Sure.
and it's for their term. So if they get re-elected, they're gonna be reappointed by the Board of Selectmen or by the particular board that puts them on there.
I guess what I should have said, not for elected positions, but for appointed positions. I used to have to, as appointed position, when my term was up, I had to request to continue. And then I always got something back saying I was
Yeah.
voted in. Is that still going on?
I mean, I'm not sure from your back end what you do the select board, I know like, for example, Board of Health every year and planning board as well. All the commissions you guys are on, this person is still on this person's still on that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the Board of Health has to be
What-
appointed nurse.
I can only explain, the way the planning board does it is that after the annual election, different people are on different committees, whatever you wanna call them, and Bill will put that list together, we'll vote on, it, and we'll send that list to the Board of Selectmen
Right.
for them to look at. I think you got a copy of it too.
Right, but again, I think we're detoured because Board of Health and Planning is a bad example because those are both elected boards.
Right.
So, but I think,
Finance.
I think
Appointed.
Tim's talking about
Yeah,
just,
as
yeah.
appointments.
So technically, are they supposed to? Yes. Do they? No.
Yeah, because when I was up for renewal for finance,
That's
they
created a
just,
real problem.
they asked me if I wanted to stay on, and I
The,
said
the
yes.
hard thing is, because I think it was, how many years ago, my appointment list, half the people weren't on there anymore. And we're waiting for them, we don't know, we hear from them, are they still on the committee, or are they not? So we try to streamline this best that we can. And just when I think we're getting somewhere, something more important happens.
But the reason I bring that up is because I was appointed as an alternate inspector and I never knew I was an alternate inspector.
Shouldn't miss meetings. That's what
Yeah.
happens. I came today because I knew they were gonna pick a secretary and if I
But
wasn't here.
you shouldn't be appointed to a position if you're not asking to be appointed for the position. But that can create, and it did create,
Are you talking about a new
serious
position or an
issues.
existing position?
Hmm?
Are you talking about a new appointment or an existing appointment?
Any, either, or.
Because I think people on committees, if it's for the term of 1 year, unless they voice a concern they want to leave, those people will get reappointed.
Well, I was building commissioner. I wasn't an alternate inspector.
Right, but I'm just saying, if in the past you were alternate inspector and they just reappointed you,
Yeah, well.
that's different than being brand new.
And what I'm saying is, and what I shouldn't be asking that you guys, I should be asking the town administrator. There has to be, I think they gotta go back to what we had, which was extremely good. You had to request to continue your position as an appointed position.
Maybe Jen does that. I'm not familiar what Jen does on her end. Maybe she says, oh, you guys still want to do this? And then I get the final list.
Well, the reason I'm bringing it up is because I find out that I've been an alternate inspector. I never asked for it, and I don't even look at it. It's just curious.
You're
if anybody
asking
knew.
the wrong group, because I know what, like I said, everybody does it.
And
Right,
that's-
wrong, or
I'm not the only
otherwise,
one.
different committees do it a little
Yeah.
bit differently. And that obviously is a little bit of a problem by itself, because we do one thing, Board of
Yeah.
Health may do something different, Conservation may do something different.
And it should be.
While we're not greatly different, there should be at least some kind of a general standard of what you're supposed to, on how you do things.
Yeah, maybe just a little handbook that just says, as chair of this committee, this is what you do.
We've tried that.
Did that work?
It would be very helpful.
I think so. I mean,
The first, I think, Jen and I tried that years ago. And at first it was really good, but then it kind of falls to the wayside.
No, COVID really.
Especially
did
since
that.
terms are different. We have 1 year terms, 3 year terms, 5 year terms to completion. So there's no set schedule.
Anyway, these are way up of our agenda,
Yeah.
so.
all right.
Anything else on updates?
Sorry. Nope.
No. Anything new to discuss, other than what we don't want to get into?
I
Need a
don't
motion.
bring anything else
Motion
up.
to adjourn by
Motion to
Paul?
adjourn.
Second.
Second, all in favor? Aye?